We're supposed to start at 9:30. Unfortunately, we have passed 15 minutes. I think it's more than enough. We should not wait for anybody else. Though it's a live, I think if anybody wants to listen later, they can listen. And I'm sure within 5 to 10 minutes, most of the participants will be arriving. But we should start because keynote paper is very big, and then we can start. Today, the session we are having, it will be presided by Mofidul Haq, who is a board member of the Dhaka International Film Festival, and he's a trustee of Bangladesh Liberation War Museum. And keynote paper presented by Sydney Levine. She is actually a trainer, educator, writer, and consultant for the festival International Sales and Financing Strategies from LA, USA. We have two distinguished person. One is Meral Malika Duran, producer, film festival programmer, and EU strategist from Paris, France. We have another participants, Ms. Fatima Amin, a media personality and faculty in film and television department, Jagannath University, Dhaka, Bangladesh. I'll ask Mr. Mofidul Haq, please come to the stage with your participant guest. Thank you. Mofidul Haq, edik diye. So I'm handing over this microphone to Mr. Mofidul Haq. He's going to organize, and Sydney is there. Hello, Sydney. Hey, how are you? Good. Sydney, can you hear me? Sydney, can you hear me? Sydney, can you hear me? Sydney? শুনতে পাচ্ছেন না তো? Sydney, can you hear me? Sydney, can you hear me? Sydney, hello? Hello? Sydney? Hello? Sydney, can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Sydney? একটু মিউট করে নাকি? Hello, Sydney, can you hear me? Can you hear me? We can't hear you. Your voice is mute. Your voice is mute.
Okay, I can hear you.
Yes, now we are hearing you. All right, we are going to start. I'm giving to the moderator. She is going to call you. He is going to call you, Mr. Mofidul Haq. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning and welcome you all to the second day of the very fascinating program we have as part of the 20th Dhaka International Film Festival. We have yesterday, many of you, I hope you attended, and it was really very fruitful exercise that the participants and those who made the presentation, they did. And as part of the Dhaka International Film Festival, this is the 8th time that we are organizing Dhaka International Conference on Women in Cinema. And I can say that right from the beginning, this conference is gaining momentum, and it is getting more and more attention nationally and globally. And also we have a very fascinating panel today. And we are really honored to have the keynote speaker, whom is Sydney Levine from Australia, and all of you, many of you knew her because of her association with the Dhaka International Film Festival, and especially with the Women conference on women in cinema. And today she is going to make the keynote presentation. And we all have noticed recently the rise of the new cinema, young filmmakers, and also films focusing on the issue of women. And a very important contribution has been made by the director and producers of Rehana Mariam Noor, a film very much known to Bangladeshi audience and also to outside because of its participation in the Cannes Film Festival. And this session is dedicated to the film Rehana Mariam Noor, and I think it has a very interesting headline which has been suggested by Sidney Levine, a feminist story as told by men with vision. And I think without much ado, I want to give the floor to Ms. Sidney Levine and make her presentation. Thank you, Sidney, for joining us. You are welcome, and please go ahead.
Well, thank you very much. I hope you all can hear me. Thank you, Ahmed, and thank you everyone for being here. And I see my friends up there on the panel. It's so good to see you. So I'm curious, but maybe you can take a hand vote for me about who is in the audience. Can you ask, or can you tell me how many hands go up with, how many people are students in the audience? I'm curious. Do you see any hands for students?
Also, if we can turn the camera to the audience.
Aha.
Shobhan,
I don't know.
Can the camera be turned to the audience?
I have to tell you, I'm very new at this, as we all are, and I have no idea if we can turn a camera on to the audience or not. That's why if you just say, there's a few hands up, there's some students there, or not. Are there journalists there?
It is.
Are there film? Now I guess, no, I don't see the audience, no. Are there students there?
They are mostly students and young film enthusiasts, and also young women filmmakers. And you can see the audience. It's really fascinating.
Oh, good.
I think. So
excellent. Hands, yes. Are there any journalists there? Oh, a lot of people. Oh my, good. Are there journalists? I see a hand for journalists. Okay. Yeah. Are there academics, teachers, professors? How about filmmakers? Yes, there are filmmakers. Okay. So one little correction. My name is Sidney Levine, and oddly enough, I'm not Sydney, Australia. I'm Sydney, USA. I'm from Los Angeles, California, and that's where I am right now. I'm so sorry I couldn't be there with you like I've been in the preceding years, and I look forward to next year seeing you all in person. So what I want to do is see if I can share this screen. I'm not sure, but if I can, then you would see this picture. Can you see that picture? The picture of Asmeri Haq Badon, who played Rahana, and the director Abdullah Muhammad Saad in Cannes. Can you see the picture I'm trying to share or not?
No, it came live, but it is.
Okay, then I am out of luck because I can't figure out how to share it. And I wanted to share a preview also of the movie, but I just don't know how to do the screen share. Apologies. So we're just going to have to go on. Hello? Are we back?
Yeah, we can see you.
All right, so How many in the audience have seen the movie, Bangladesh's 2022 Oscar submission for Best International Feature? I see no hands. Can I see if anyone has seen the film actually? I see one hand up there.
No, there are about 6, 7.
All right. Well, let me introduce the film. I'm so sorry I can't show you the preview at least. The writer-director, Abdul Muhammad Saad, premiered this film in 2021 at the Cannes Film Festival in a certain regard. And it's the first Bangladesh feature to make it to the Cannes official selection. And that's 19 years after a film by Tariq Masood was called Matir Mayana, The Clay Bird, was in Director's Fortnight, which is a sidebar to the Cannes Film Festival. And this film, Rahana, is, of course, as you all know, Bangladesh's official submission for Academy Award nomination. It's a story about a woman who is brilliantly played by the actress Azmeri Haq Badon, who is most often seen in the movie in icy blue, antiseptic, and a claustrophobic setting of the medical college in which she teaches. Rahana is a very serious woman. She's juggling a job as a teacher, a doctor, a single mother, a sister, and a daughter. Her own daughter, Emu, is a free-spirited 6-year-old who's also being raised in the household of her mother and father, and occasionally by her brother and her sister's husband. She leads a life filled with many responsibilities to keep the family afloat and functioning. The question this film poses is whether this is a feminist film or a film made by what is called an equalist, which in the end caves into the societal norms of inequality and perpetuates the unjust treatment of females. There's a most interesting scene about 3/4 of the way through, the only one when Rahana is not taking the center stage, where Rahana's sister and her brother-in-law have a discussion about the place of a woman, and he calls his wife a pseudo-feminist, and the wife calls the husband a pseudo-liberal. And this is probably the essence of the complex relationships between the sexes. Seeing the relationship between the man and the wife, as they have this conversation, is capped in the end by the husband's summary of everyone in the end of being guilty of splitting from each other and slitting each other's throats. So we first see Rahana when she is walking through the sterile halls of this medical college where she works. And then we see her again supervising an exam. And she expels a female student for cheating on this exam. Another woman, another student, speaks up on the other's behalf, and Rahana asks her name and tells her she better be quiet or she too will be expelled from the room. And this is our introduction to Annie, the second character around whom this drama turns. Now, Rahana walks to her office and she hears from the office next door a cry from a woman, from her colleague boss's office, in fact, and she stops to hear more. And then she sees Annie coming out, crying, coming out with her shirt button torn off, and Rahana takes it upon herself to confront the issue of sexual impropriety, which she just witnessed to the shame of Annie. And Annie herself is actually physical sick to the point of nausea about what has occurred. At the same time that all this is happening, Rahana is also hearing about her daughter and trying to make her irresponsible brother pick the daughter up from school. Then the school calls and reports that the daughter has bitten a classmate. And before Rahana goes to punish the child and make her apologize, as she's been told to do, she listens as her daughter tells her that actually she was biting the boy because he was always pinching her. So now Rahana is faced with two injustices, and she proceeds to seek justice. She's not only alone in her introverted sense of what's right and what's wrong, But she's alone because Annie is so afraid of ruining her reputation and facing societal punishment, of putting her family to shame and failing at school, which costs her family so much money as a sacrifice so she can go in. That makes Rahana's quest extremely lonely, and it becomes an obsession. She tells Annie that if Annie doesn't want to report the incident, she'll act as if it happened to her. And in turn, Annie even betrays Rahana. And then Rahana realizes perhaps this has been going on more than this one time between Annie and her boss. The female administrator of the school is also very hesitant to report such an impropriety, because she's afraid it'll ruin the school's reputation, and she lists many other reasons, all relating to the male privilege and the mistrust of female initiatives. So she herself, Rahana, becomes a singular target as she confronts the deeply embedded forces of patriarchy in the Bangladesh society. As a counterpoint to her workplace harassment, she is also proud of her daughters striking back in self-defense, but that too has consequences. If the child does not apologize to the boy that she bit, she's going to be expelled from school, and she is very much looking forward to performing in the final school performance in front of all the school. Meanwhile, Rahana decides she's not going to apologize, and therefore she knows her daughter will not be able to participate in this very exciting drama that they're going to put on for the class. And in the end, Rahana even forces her own child, even though she understands the position of women as victims of such violent suppression, she herself is guilty of perpetuating that as she forbids her daughter to perform. And by not explaining the reason to her daughter why she's not going to perform, she forces the child to learn that power rules over justice. And it leads to future mistrust among women, which disallows the solidarity needed among them to fight the sexual-based injustices. And it leaves the child with the same problem that the mother is facing. In the end, everyone, including Rahana, is lying and figuratively slitting each other's throats, as the brother-in-law said. So thereafter, the daughter will resent her, just as the students resent her for bringing light upon the systemic repression of female students. Life would be easier if she would just ignore it, allow her daughter to perform in this treasured role in the school play after apologizing to the student, or if she would simply allow the young woman to hide her shame within herself rather than make it public. On the other hand, something like the slap she gives Annie when Annie betrays the cause of justice, or a proverbial slap that a mother often gives a daughter in some cultures when her menstrual period begins. It's as if to warn them that life is going to be a punishment for being born female. And there's a consciousness that then takes over all the parties of the injustices being done. The lesson she's teaching her child may be a life-saving gesture. However, it also cancels out the child's rights as a human being. So I wondered what made a male filmmaker, director, and producer to tell this decidedly female story. And I asked Abdullah Muhammad Saad, and he said that he always starts with a character rather than the subject. He said he believes that his protagonist eventually will guide him to the subject. And in this case, he had been obsessing about Rahana for some time. She was someone with whom he said I could personally connect with her. My three brilliant elder sisters had a huge influence on me while I was growing up. I had seen them closely as sisters, as daughters, as professionals, and as mothers, and I guess I wanted to investigate and share that experience. Also, I've always been very interested in the complex relationship between men and women and how we treat each other. So perhaps all of these culminated into Rahana Miriam Noor. Even though it's been very slow to establish an equal status for women, he says that I think the scenario is changing. I'm not a very optimistic person, but I can see that the deep-rooted distrust, fear, and anxiety between men and women are getting narrower. Perhaps the greatest revolution of the human history would be to make everyone understand that we're all the same and we have to depend on each other and help each other in order to survive in this complex world, and not the other way around. This film has been critically praised, especially by the prize-winning journalist from India. Her name is Meenakshi Shetty, and I don't know if she's listening to this, but she said she couldn't wait for the subcontinent audiences to see this film. And she says to Bangladesh, take a bow. She says that the screenplay is in the same class as Asghar Farhadi's finest works. And he, by the way, is going to be nominated, I'm sure, for the Academy Award. In terms of moral complexity, it's rare and thrilling to see such powerful images of strong, financially independent Muslim women in South Asian feature films, especially single mothers, all the more daring for coming from a secular nation with Islam as its state religion. She says that Indian subcontinental cinema has had a long history of male directors being equalists, if not feminists. And Saad delivers a masterstroke. The protagonist, Rahana, is not a victim of rape, but a witness, therefore, thereby indicting all of us who may be witnesses or aware of rape, but unlike Rahana, refuse to go all the way until justice is served. More importantly, creating sympathy for the victim or the witness is a low-hanging fruit that doesn't interest Saad. If anything, he goes out of his way to make it challenging for the audience to empathize with his protagonist, even though she is obviously fighting for the right thing. In so doing, Saad raises the bar incredibly high. Rahana is not only a fantastic film, it's also a demanding film, yet deeply rewarding, leaving you with a welter of morally complex positions on rape and consent. It is also painful to watch reality reflected, how swiftly women who call out rapists are punished, and in a perverse subcontinental specialization, how manipulative men swiftly turn the table, portraying the victims of rape as perpetuators of injustice against men. Rahana nearly destroys herself, as well as those around her, in her quest for justice. Now, Variety has also praised this film and has some comments that I think are important to our connection to the film and our evaluation of it for ourselves. So Variety says, while the film raises questions of proof and difficulty of establishing truth, especially within the entrenched system of an institution, Rahana herself comes under the moral microscope in terms of her conflicted relations with her students and with her daughter Emu. The chain of scenes in which this loving, committed mother engages with her lively, intelligent child, a sparkling, winning, and eventually troubling performance by the young Afia Ijahin Jaima, culminates in a closing moment that shows how the cycle of rage perpetuates itself even when fueled by noble social convictions. Indeed, 3 top Bangladesh directors have recently addressed Me Too. Saad, Mustafa Sarar, Faruqi's web series, Ladies and Gentlemen, that dropped on Z5 Global on July 9th, and Rubaiyat Hossain's Made in Bangladesh, which we talked about last year. One could consider them part of a Bangladeshi new wave, along with several other directors. This searing investigation of a woman determined to seek justice raised more questions in my own mind about how and why the writer Saad came to filmmaking. He said he didn't learn by formal training, and I think that's important. He learned filmmaking by watching films and reading about them. And he also worked as a TV commercial director before he made this film, which helped him learn the technical side of filmmaking. And he thinks his journey might encourage upcoming filmmakers in their own journeys. He made a couple of shorts with his friends before this film, and I asked him what brought him into making movies, and he said it was quite hard to explain. There wasn't a single reason or an incident. He didn't grow up with movies. Watching films in theater was not a common practice in his family. He said he tried to do a lot of other things in his life where he failed. And so he said, I guess filmmaking grew into me slowly and eventually gave me a sense of purpose. This, his previous film showed at the Singapore Film Festival, and that's where he met his producer, Jeremy Shua. He said he'll always be grateful to the Singapore Film Festival, especially to Zhang Weiji, who made it, who is the program director of the festival, and who selected his film Live from Dhaka. He inspired me a lot, he says. I met Jeremy Chua in the Singapore Festival. He had a film in the competition. By the way, before I continue the quote with him, I want to say to the people out there, you students, getting your film into a film festival where you can meet other professionals in the same way by going to Singapore or film festivals where professionals attend, not just the public, will help you get yourself into the international film circuit. So he met Jeremy Chua, who also had a film in the competition. That's how they met. And they talked a little bit, and they found some similarities in their approach to screenwriting. And after the festival, they began talking a lot and decided to work together. He said Jeremy is extremely talented and passionate. Saad's debut feature, which showed at Singapore, was called Live from Dhaka, won the Best Director and Best Actor in Singapore International Film Festival. This was in 2016. And then it went on to screen at other festivals, including Rotterdam Film Festival and the Locarno Film Festival in Switzerland. So Jeremy Chua produced the film in association with Bangladesh's Metro Video, and it was made with the support of the Doha Film Institute for post-production in a grant, and the Busan, that's another big festival in South Korea, the Busan Asian Film Cinema Fund. And it was also produced by Sensemakers in Bangladesh and associated by Jirel Production in France and a few more co-producers. The executive producer was Ehsan al-Haq Babu, and Johan Chapelan was the associate producer. I went and talked to Jeremy himself, Jeremy Chua, and asked how he became involved in the film. I have on the website, but I can't show you and it takes too long, but if you receive this paper or it's published in Celluloid, Ahmed's magazine, then you can go to the link and hear the entire interview. You can look at the links on the preview of the film, and you can hear the interview, not just with Jeremy, but also, no, you can't hear it. Saad was very shy. He didn't want to do a live interview, so we just wrote each other. So Jeremy Chua is a Singaporean producer based in Singapore and Paris. In 2014, he started his own company devoted to Asian auteur films, and he's co-produced several films since then. I won't go into their names, but he has gained a lot of experience since 2014. This was also a final he was selected at the Berlinale Talents, and he was a finalist for an award there. And he's also a programmer for the Pingyao International Film Festival. I tell you this so that you understand that when you meet a person who's a professional in the business, they have many different directions that they're connected. And the way you connect as young filmmakers to the international business, and that's how you become a larger filmmaker with international productions, larger budgets. That's how you move your careers ahead. The people you meet have many more connections in many, many different directions. So everybody you meet when you're traveling in a film circuit, showing your film in festivals, be kind to everybody. Be very interested in what they're doing, because if you're interested in them and you hear all that they're doing, they in turn will become interested in you, and you'll have the reason to converse. And the more you converse with someone, the closer you get to working with those people on your next production, or to promoting your film, to getting into the best festivals for your film. So I asked Jeremy what attracted him to Rahana and how he met Saad, and he said, I think even in Asia, a lot of us do not have many chances to be exposed to independent or art house films, and especially films from Bangladesh. But after I saw Saad's first film, live from Dhaka at the Singapore Film Festival, I realized there's a lot of talent in Bangladesh. The directing, the dialogue, the cinematography, the acting, the editing, the style, there's a new vision and an energy that Saad and his team brought to the screen. I could tell he understood a darker side of humanity in both its beauty and its vulnerability. Although his storytelling is minimal, his characters are layered with multiple complexities, and this organically creates tension and drama. It has a similar sensibility to the kind of films I love. So it was exactly during the festival we discussed and decided to work together to develop and produce his second film. I asked, what kind of films do you love? And he said, I love the sort of film about people's mysteries that occur in life. Today, it's easy to get caught up in existence and life's routines. Films can transform things one knows about, but is not really aware of. How bleak reality pushes people to the edges of humanity, to extreme measures. In Singapore, the intellectual concept of poverty exists, but we don't really know it. The film showed a Bangladesh we did not know before, although there are Bangladesh workers in Singapore, but they're out of sight for us. The film humanizes them and builds a world where the emotional reality becomes real. The film was done on no budget, and I wanted to work on a second film with better structure, getting international partners. And initially, we thought it would take place in Thailand. And we researched Thailand with the Busan Fund's money that they granted to us. He had a script idea, but when he returned, he felt the script had to be about Dhaka. It was a 180-degree turn, and it was about a woman who would never back down. She's brought to the edge. It was investigative at first, but he got more interested in knowing her frailty as a mother as well as a professional. I said, how many of your films are about women? He said, it's coincidental. Characters I don't understand interest me most. In Paris, many of the people I met were women. There are parallels with the feminine world, more honesty, more related to reality. Women confront it more strongly, the emotional side. I asked him how he became interested in film, and he said that as a kid, I had to emotionally struggle to connect with people. I didn't understand feelings. Watching films showed feelings. Otherwise, I had a very inner world. Film was like an epiphany for me, a touch of God. I understood through them why people behave as they do. There was an emotional communication through film related to parents and friends with problems. I asked when he chose to work on a movie, and he said, I want to know the characters and have a better understanding of them. That's when I want to work on a film. Variety also asked him how he financed the film, and I think as young filmmakers, you need to see how people finance films. He said, Variety said, there's no national commissioner in Bangladesh, no regional funds around South Asia, and at the start, Saad introduced me to a young and upcoming producer in Dhaka, Rajiv Mohajan. And together, our first step was to apply for the Asian Cinema Fund for script development from the Busan, that's Korea, Busan International Film Festival. And we were awarded that in 2017. We then spent many months researching and exploring different story ideas. By 2018, we had an advanced draft of the script and applied to participate in the Asian project market of the Busan Film Festival. At the market, we met many producers, sales agents, and programmers who gave us invaluable feedback. We found partners from France and Norway to apply for European financing. Unfortunately, those bids were unsuccessful, and we began searching for private equity in Bangladesh. We received a couple of offers, but finally decided to work with the executive producer, Ihsanul Haq, who was extremely supportive in the artistic direction and gave us a lot of freedom to create. We were also supported by members of the crew, volunteers, and sponsors. After production, we applied for post-production funding, and we were supported by the Doha Film Institute, their post-production grant in 2020. And then finally, our French associate producer, Johan Chapelin, covered our final expenses for the deliverables. Variety asked what the selection for Cannes meant to Jeremy. And he said, any film is a sacrifice and a devotion. It takes a lot of creative energy, time, commitment, and of course, money. So to me, the Cannes selection in a certain regard is a validation of Saad's talent, the fire in his heart, for him to be living in a place that is extremely difficult to make independent films, especially over the last 2 years. It's been a beautiful dream and reminds me to take nothing for granted. There can be only fuel for the next projects I'm working on. I asked him what he would like to convey to you at the Women's Conference of the Dhaka Film Festival, and he said, I learned in Bangladesh that there's a very small percentage of women within the structures of power, and I hope they will learn how to make changes. I feel the film may empower different aspects of social life. Women should not be defined by the structures that are hurtful, even if it's just impacting another person. To look away or not to look away is an important decision. I hope it'll allow women to take charge more. Even my own crews are mostly women. There are very few women, however, and I hope that the younger women will mix more with the establishment. And that is my presentation to you, meant as an encouragement, and I certainly hope you all get to see this movie and judge for yourself its merits and what your own opinion is. Thank you so much.
I don't know how to thank you, Sidney Levine, for your brilliant analysis, and we will not dwell much on it now, but we will go to our next speaker. But before that, I will say that it's really a complete overview of the film. You have analyzed the story and the structure of the film and the significance of the film, and also went beyond how the film has been made and the great partnership between Saad and Jeremy. And as you have rightly pointed out, this film reflects a new wave of Bangladeshi filmmakers, film enthusiasts, and especially the young audience and film academics, students, and also those who carry the dream of making significant film. So I will go to the next panelist. We have two very distinguished speakers. And our next speaker is Meral Melika Duran, whom I think briefly introduced by Ahmed Mustafa. She is a political sociologist, human rights advocate, and a very engaged strategist, producer, cinema critic, and consultant in the entertainment sector. I think with her long experience, 20 years of experience, including being in charge of EURI images at the Cabinet of the Secretary General of the Council of Europe, and also in many other important boards, and also as an organizer of initiatives in the field of cultural diplomacy, gender issues, internal affairs, culture, media, arts, and entertainment. She is the right choice to be a panelist into this very important session, and I give the floor to Meral Melika Duran.
Good morning. Thank you very much for the introduction. I am delighted and very honored to be here with you today, and especially on this panel, which was for me a special, really special, because the presentation was made by my friend Sydney, which I really respect and love. She's an amazing person, and I think it was the right choice to have her. She's one of the most talented professionals to talk about the entertainment sector worldwide, and having a presentation just after her, I feel really humble. I don't know what to say. Because she's so brilliant. I don't know what to add after this wonderful presentation. Just to say that I can sign every single word she said about the entertainment sectors and how you can, as a young generation, enter in the international sphere, how you have to also go beyond your borders and beyond your beyond all the struggles. It's not easy to go in the international spheres. It's not easy to find a way to purchase your dream, because everything starts with a dream. Everything starts with a lot of, work from your side, which I totally believe that is always valuable, very valuable to purchase the dream you have. Either it is in your local and national countries, or either it is outside, but please purchase your dream. Concerning this movie, I was very, very, very excited personally, because I never seen, I'm going every year almost in Cannes, and it's a long time that I'm waiting for a movie from Bangladesh to be selected to Cannes Film Festival. And when this wonderful movie Rihanna come, we were very excited, because I see the subcontinent, Indian subcontinent, but all the Asian countries as a wonderful, very creative, very imaginative, very energetic soul, energetic people who's coming up from Asia. Because in the meantime, I'm also very interested in Asian filmmakers as a producer, but also I'm part of different organization, and I work a little bit with Busan, but I mostly work with the Asian World Film Festival in Los Angeles, where Sydney is also there. She's on the board, I think, and I'm one of the director. And we try to promote Asian filmmakers. We try to support Asian filmmakers, and especially women filmmakers. We know how it is hard, not only here in Bangladesh, but all over the world. It's always a little bit more complicated when you are a woman. We did not attend this equal world where we harmoniously work together, and where we are reaching a point where we did not even think about this, gender issues, and that the richness or the funding is, distributed equally. We are not get to that point, nor in Europe nor here, unfortunately, but we are working on that. And I think you have to be very fearless, especially you new filmmakers. Be courageous and be fearless. If you have some dreams and if you want to create something, it's not very easy, but it's possible, and there's always a way. And every single stories who's coming up is always enlightening you personally first, and then us. We learn a lot from Asia, and I learned personally a lot about the diversity of different cultures from abroad. And I'm very delighted to be here physically for the first time in Bangladesh. I've been following, thanks to Ahmed, what Dhaka Film Festival, Dhaka International Film Festival is doing. I try to be involved personally, but I also worked a lot with Bangladesh in another part, not on the entertainment part, but mostly on women issues at the Council of Europe and in European organization, mostly on women issues, on equalities and labor market, how we can open labor market for an equal distributions with the women and men, and also on, unfortunately, on trafficking issues. And I am very happy with these movies. Just we have one more doors which is open, and it is very exciting that it's a man who did this movie. It's I don't want to enter in details because Sydney did already say everything we could say about it, saying that is it a feminist one or not a feminist one, but it is definitely a movie with a lot of humanism. A lot of humanism, a lot of interesting thing in this movie is that we are talking about justice and how can we be just and stay, respect our own dignity and stay personally with certain, how can I say that? I'm sorry, I was thinking in French. I'm thinking French and trying to speak in English, sorry. Sometimes this is really a bad thing. But I think it's, what is very interesting in this movie, we also have a perspective of what's going on the Bangladesh society right now, and how struggling with these daily problems as a woman is also something which is not only in Bangladesh, because we see that also abroad. And how can we stay all together? How can we put these problems and point a finger and try to work on that together to have more a comprehensive approach on women issues, and how legally, because this we have to change, we have to put on place legal structure, plus than that an educational structures, like we have to educate our future generation how to respect women's rights and how to how to balance our life between traditions and right and dignity and equality. And I think that's this balance we have to figure out how we can help each other. In this movie, what I see is that it's a very brilliant approach to the Bangladesh society, and I don't know if you're going to have questions, but I will be there for questions and answers. I don't want to go further on it because it's not that much of my presentation. It's mostly like Sydney did a wonderful overview of the movie with all details, and I really wish this movie will go further and have a very large distribution all over the world. And I wish very good luck to this movie, to the Oscars, of course, and I think it's already did a really great job for now.
Thank you, Melika Duran, for your insightful presentation. You have highlighted the significance of the movie, its impact, and especially impact on the Bangladeshi young filmmakers who carry the dream of making great films, and also its relationship with the larger global problem and also the issue, a very complex issue which we need to address in every society at every time. And our last speaker is Ms. Fatima Amin. She is in the Faculty of Film and Television Department at Jagannath University. She did her MA from Dhaka and then in the Film Studies from the prestigious Jadavpur University. And she is associated with an electronic media in Bangladesh. and also tried her hand in a filmmaking as part of the initiative of Dhaka Doc Lab. So the floor is to you, Fatima Amin.
Thank you, Mofid Bhai. Good morning, everyone. And good morning, Sylvia Levine. I think it's noon at your city. Yeah, in LA. Yeah.
Nighttime. It's nighttime.
Good night, yes. I'm very precise with my topic and with this story. Saad is my friend, and I have seen him last 5 years. He was very poetic. He was a good storyteller and minimalist storyteller. So this is the first ever film from Bangladesh in Asar Tariqa in Cannes Film Festival, and it's a great platform for Bangladesh to attend. And Rehana Mariam Noor, as Sylvia mentioned, that this is a cold azure, blue, calculated, anticipated, and claustrophobic feel in the background, and the sustained blue enhance the film thematic acuteness and the stylistic austerity. I find Rehana is a teacher, a mother, a daughter, and sometimes I feel she's a crusader for the society. She's a crusader for the safety of a woman out there, out in the society. Sylvie asked a very interesting question in her article. Is this a feminist film or a film made by an equalist? Or I think it's a story of female repression or not. To me, I think it's a story of uncomfortableness. It's a story of, it's a breathless trip to the repression of a woman. It's a story of and director was very focused. He mentioned in this article, he was very focused in her character rather than the subject. And as he was searching Rehana, he was watching Rehana, he said, I found Rehana is very, he's out there in the society. I picked a character from my locality, and I saw Rehana in the society, everyday life, and every woman represents Rehana in inner side. So what we see in the society, actually, in reality, what we see, everyone tries to pass the ball from one court to another court. And I have seen many cases when I was a student in Jahangirnagar University. I have seen many victims, many cases out there. So here, Rehana is a witness, and Rehana is not a silent watcher, and she can't remain silent because she is a fighter. And at the end, we find her, she was fighting alone in the quest of justice. And Saad mentioned, I saw my three sisters every day, and they grew me up like a filmmaker. So I saw my sister, they were wearing a hijab. I asked Saad, why you portray Rehana like this? Because in Bangladesh, we are not maintaining that culture. We are not wearing a hijab. But why you portray Rehana with a hijab? He said, I grew up with my three sisters, and I always see my mother and sister wearing a hijab, and they talk like this. They are talking the society. They represent the society in this way. So I represent Rehana in this way, in this society. So in this film, I was searching one complex. I was hanging in the complex between rape and consent. You know, in this film, the conversation between Arifin and Rehana, Rehana and Imu, Rehana and Ronnie, particular characters when Rehana was involving with other characters in this film, the diegetic dialogues that deliver by Rehana, it's a different phenomena from Bangladesh. I said earlier that our friend Saad, he's a minimalist filmmaker, storyteller, so he wanted to make azure coldness by the cold blue background and the red, the white, blue, and I think similar like that color, hijab and dress wearing, Badhon was wearing. So he was trying to blur that image or blur that scene or shot to deliver what to say, it's a kind of calculating, catastrophic, claustrophobic ambience in it. So when I was watching this film, I was hanging in the complex like consent and rape, and because in our reality, when a victim talk to the society, in this society we victimize again. We made her or we make her vulnerable again by talk or by questioning the same situation or same question again and again. To the society, to the patriarchal society, to the family, a person, a female is more vulnerable than male, because when we fight for the moral courage, we fight for our rights, it's being injustice. It's being injustice to us, to the women perspective. So when I see I'm loner in the society, I'm fighting alone as a female filmmaker or female academician. When I was teaching in a university, everyone asked me, "Oh, you are a teacher from film and television, so you are very sexy and hot, and yes, you represent this way with a t-shirt or a pant. Oh, this is the way you can move on because you are from film industry." So the bullying, it's a kind of bullying, it's a harassment for me. So it's very normal in here. As I'm a teacher, I'm educating my students, but I am not the person outer in this society. I am very much in it. When I was talking with my students, they came to us and they were every day they were bullying by the other departmental students by the other departments in my university. So we are not that much mature. We are not that much smart. Because we are not telling our story. Abdullah Muhammad Saad is presenting a female story. We are discussing a female or feminist or equalist, whatever you want, you can say. We are watching a film by Abdullah Muhammad Saad, but we are not making our own story. We are not making our own image. Because, I don't know, it's a kind of, I am not talking to you, I'm talking to myself also. I'm not making my own film. I wanted to be a filmmaker, but I cannot. I don't know why, but I think it's been sought out. So Abdullah Muhammad Saad, he made a master stroke with his very, very, very feminist idea or equalist idea. And I definitely say, take a bow from me. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for patience hearing.
Thank you, Fatima Amin, for presenting your viewpoint with your friendship with Abdullah Saad and also your own position as a faculty member in a university, I think dominated by the male, both students and your colleagues. So I think it's really fascinating, the discussion, how it went on. Sydney Levine, she has made a great presentation and also supported from different perspective by both Duran and Fatima. And we do not have much time actually, but I will take the privilege to chip in few minutes from our next session. Maybe the tea break will be a bit short, if Ahmed Mustafa permits, because we want to take few questions. Maybe we cannot answer every question, but let the audience come up with their own reaction, any question, any observations you have. The floor is open to you. And for the students, you can also make your submission in Bangla if you feel comfortable. But we want to have a very lively session, so it's up to you, to the audience, to come up with your questions or with your observations. Open to the audience. Okay, then I think Duran will have a question, so I give the opportunity.
Thank you.
I have a small, yeah. Of course, we had our discussions yesterday. Sydney, thank you for the wonderful presentation. I mean, I really loved what you said, especially because you also included the industry and how the dynamics of the industry. So I'm a film scholar, academician, and though my research or my work is pertinent to only the mainstream, but I'm also very interested in, you spoke about the indie filmmakers. So I'm interested in knowing where does the studios come in here? Because mainstream is dominated by studios. So also the aspect of exploitation of indie filmmakers by the studios or by the bigger players in the mainstream. So if you just can enlighten us on this point. My name is Dr. Ipshita Borat. I'm a faculty at St. Xavier's College, Kolkata. And yeah.
So is that addressed to me?
So we take few questions, then we'll go to you, Sydney.
Okay, so yes, the studios, I think you probably are aware that the studios are being replaced really by the streamers. Streamers are not really studios, which works to your advantage as an independent filmmaker. They're not really studios because they don't own property where they're shooting their movies. They don't exercise the same influence on making the movies so that it fits their corporate structure. The streamers are hiring local talent so that they can make movies that mean something to the local population. They're more distributors than producers. They leave the filmmaker to be creative on their own. They don't overlook them the way corporate studios do. So it's very good that the streamers are being the ones who are making more of the independent movies. We can say independent. Independent means for you, you're all by yourself. You're struggling to find funding. The studios put you into a different structure than the streamers. The streamers will provide money when they are so inclined to bring in the audiences that speak Bangla, to bring in that big audience. It's a number of people, and it doesn't just cover Bangladesh, as you know, it probably covers India also. But they're looking for talent, which gives you a chance. Whereas if it were a studio, you would not have a chance. So I think that the streamers are offering something very valuable for you. Does that answer everything? I think you might have asked another aspect of that, and I'm missing it.
I'm also interested in knowing, to a large extent, if also indie filmmakers are exploited in certain ways. Whether it be streamers or whether it be the studios, the bigger players in the market, because that's where ultimately the product, there's an entire festival circuit, but there's an other side to the story as well. So, yes.
Very good. Yes. Yes, you don't want to just get in festivals. If you just get in festivals, it's great for you're putting yourself in front of a public, but it's not great because you're not making any money from it. So exploitation of indie filmmakers does take place quite often. The indie filmmaker is everyone is relying on an original voice that has to come out from an indie filmmaker. But they don't want to pay the indie filmmaker. So an indie filmmaker struggles to find the money, then gets the film made, gets put into a festival, and then there's no money traded. So that indie filmmaker has been exploited immediately in order to make something for people to see and not get paid for it. With the streamers, they can pay you to do it. And you may not find it easy to raise money for your film and include your own salary in it unless you are hired, in fact, to make a movie or a series by the streamers and they pay you a salary. There's a saying in Hollywood that films never make money, only filmmakers do, if they're hired as filmmakers. So your film, you struggle, you get it financed, you get it out there in front of festivals. Maybe a sales agent picks it up, which is what you want, because then they can sell it, but you still don't get the money from it. Everything works against the filmmaker. Sorry, the filmmaker is very exploited unless you're hired, because your film was so popular, won prizes at the most important festivals, had a sales agent, then they'll hire you to make a movie. Maybe it'll be your choice of movie if you're lucky, but they will pay you a salary, and that's the way you're gonna make money. The movie will never make money for you. Sorry, it just happens that way. You're right, it's exploitation.
This is the movie entertainment sector, and she's right. That's the way it is. I just take the floor again because I was just like very intrigued and very interested by also your comment as a filmmaker, your struggle being like you feel. I mean, I feel that is very your anxiety. You're very supportive of this movie. You're very supportive of your friends, but also frustrated that as a woman, as a filmmaker, you did not have the chance to do it. And I'm very. I would like to know more about it. Why? Is there anything because you couldn't, you have everything in your hand and you couldn't do it? Or because the struggle for a woman filmmaker in Bangladesh did not allow you to do it? I mean, like, it's just like, do you think it's mostly in your country, or don't you think that is something I would really like you to clarify, maybe explain more?
I'm an academician. I'm working in a university. But if you say, in my perspective, in my opinion, I cannot make my own story because I have to struggle a lot with my story, and as a mother, as a professional, or as a sister, or anything you mention, I cannot go beyond my territory because in this patriarchal society, I'm very much aviated with my things, aviated with my energy in household works. And one very particular platform I want to show you, that is when Azmeri Haq Bathon touches the floor in Cannes Film Festival. That time Bangladesh was facing a different problem with a film heroine called Porimoni. So I was watching, I was observing their Facebook validated post, Facebook page. I was following them. That time, Porimoni was assaulted by men with bad bullying, and the same way, Azmeri Haq Bathon was wearing a blouse, open blouse. She was assaulting with the same bullying. why she is presenting herself in that platform in this way. So it's very interesting. So when I'm a filmmaker, I want to make my own film. It's very difficult in the men's world to make my own decision, because as a filmmaker, when I will preside or I will guide my own crew, they will say, oh, she's a female filmmaker, she's a female director, so she cannot handle me like this way. So yeah, this is the thing.
You have some limitation on that. Yeah. I mean, is it also very good? Because I'm like, I see in this room that there is, of course, the wearing, it's very diverse. I mean, it's not that very impacting.
70% are female.
Yeah. Yeah, and I see the diversity between, but more female, and I'm very happy for that. That means that there is an opening, right?
It's a kind of opening, yeah.
Okay. And in the daily life, do you feel like a very harassed by the way you wear your clothes or your attitude and this? Okay.
It's my wisdom, right? But I cannot.
Okay. Thank you so much.
So if there is any observation, any question from the floor? Yeah, please introduce yourself then.
I'm Supriya and I'm a filmmaker from India. So I'd like to, just make a comment on what Sydney was saying, and it means like indie filmmakers must be very rich to make and lose the money, for their films. And I just wanted to make that comment, and I wanted to ask a question to Fatima. Since you're an academician, I'm really interested in knowing, because I do see in college there are girls who are interested in cinema and they're interested in filmmaking. And, when they graduate and come out of film school, so there are girls who would settle for academics or they would go into documentary filmmaking. Fiction, they feel it's still far away. So, in your experience, what's the percentage of female filmmakers dropping out from their passion towards cinema? And why do you think they sort of take, the documentary way and not the fiction way? What really stops them, talking to the youngsters, what do you think really stops them from pursuing that?
Thank you, Priya, for your question. I think we are coming out in this industry. We can talk right now, we can talk ourselves, we can talk about us in these days. And look at the audience, 70% out there are female. And yes, it's a kind of sometimes I feel why we're not making film like India has grown up, India's female filmmakers has coming out. So we don't have any institute yet. We don't have an institute. I studied in Jadavpur University in film studies, but I'm teaching right now here, but I think I have very minimal capacity to teach my students.